Welcome to the 2022 OPAL Special Awards Program, now in its third edition. A prize dedicated to celebrating exceptional achievements in the three segments of sustainability, innovation, and social impact. This short program reveals this year's prize winner for innovation. OPAL seeks to identify firms or individuals making game-changing innovations using new materials, design principles, or emerging technologies. Our judges vote from a short list of impressive candidates, and only one winner is chosen. So without further ado, the prize winner of the 2022 OPAL Special Award for Innovation goes to
the 2022 OPAL Special Award for Innovation, KENGO KUMA.
Hi, my name is Marco Vannucci of Open System Architecture, and I'm very pleased to actually announce the recipient of the OPAL Special Award for Innovation. The award goes to Mr. KENGO KUMA.
Yeah, thank you very much. And also, it's a great honor for me to receive the OPAL Award, Special Award Innovation. I like the word innovation very much, and to receive the award named the innovation is great honor and exciting, and I'm very happy to hear that.
Brilliant, fantastic! Congratulations again, Mr. Kuma. I just would like to ask a few questions actually. Let's start from the beginning actually, from the time when you graduated, your education. You, if I'm not mistaken, you graduated in 1979. So yes. It was actually at the tail end of the metabolist movement in Japan, which was very important in the post-war period, but also like right before the big economic crisis in Japan as well. Yes. So you were an in-between generations. How did you feel and how did you fit within the extraordinary tradition of Japanese architecture at the time?
Yes, and when I studied architecture in the University of Tokyo, it is kind of the period between metabolism and economic crisis. As a beginning, of my student life, I was very excited to read the book of Metabolist, Kenzo Tange and Kisho Kurokawa, about the new philosophy of architecture design, that they wrote the new architecture should follow the system of the nature, and I really was impressed by their idea. Yeah, but at the same time, I sometimes disappointed to see the real building of them. The real building of the Tanges and the Kurokawas looks like the very industrial, super industrial building, the capsules and the structure oriented, and it was not human at all, I felt. And then my starting point is the metabolism, but also at the same time the doubt for metabolism. And so I wanted to find another way to learn from nature, and this is my starting point.
That's very interesting. The topic of nature is a big one, obviously. Your architecture is praised to have a specific relationship with nature, and that's also another question I had actually. It's the relationship between nature and architecture has been explored by many people in many different ways, but you seem to have like a very peculiar personal approach to that. I wonder whether maybe like the Japanese tradition in relation to the symbiotic relationship with nature influenced the way you also approach this relationship.
Yeah, so when I studied architecture in the university, the Japanese traditional architecture looks like some kind of as antique. It was not as impressive at all. But after the burst of the bubble economy, it's end of 1980s, the projects in Tokyo were all cancelled, and I began to travel to the countryside of Japan, and in the countryside of Japan, I saw some traditional old buildings, and it looked very new for me. And that experience changed my design very much. And thanks to the burst of the bubble, I find my approach and my approach to learn from traditional architecture started from that period.
Yeah, absolutely. And also you talk about the possibility to recover the place, to have to recover the spirit of a place actually, and through this relationship with nature, and also an architecture that is actually also try to engage with time. You've been writing about how Bruno Taut, for example, try to escape the production of object to actually introduce time into the architecture. Would you like to actually talk about also this approach as well?
Yeah, as after Basel bubble, I traveled to countryside of Japan, small villages and small town and I was born and as I grew up in Tokyo, and for me, the encounter with those small villages were so excited, and all villages are very different. And so the size is small, but they were keeping their own unique culture and own unique design. And sometimes they had a very special craftsmanship. And those craftsmanship, design, and place itself were very much connected. And that kind of connection gave me the hint for future architecture. So we should recover the connection between place and design. It is the beginning.
So like the connection also with the craftsmanship, with the work of the tradition, people that work in craftsmanship, right?
Yes.
One interesting aspect also that I find is that you're also an educator. So you've been actually teaching at university for many years. And you also establish the KUMA lab at the University of Tokyo, where you really try to bridge this gap between craftsmanship and also like new technology, digital technology. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, and basically, I don't like to teach in the classroom. So this is one way as a lecture in the classroom is a kind of boring experience for me. And instead, I try to create the small pavilion with student, and by hand, and also by computer. And in the small pavilions, the hands and the computer should work together. And the student were basically very good at the computational design, parametric design, but they don't know how to realize that kind of design. I try to teach them how to realize them, how to implementation I taught them the importance of implementation. And through that process, the computational, the design and the craftsmanship mixed together. and it's a very is a important experience for myself as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and also like the beauty of computation is that in the Western tradition, we have two main train of thoughts. One is to link to Leon Battista Alberti, we used to draw and then demand, the construction to builders. And then Brunelleschi, on the other hand, it was actually building machine to build his own architecture. And to some degree, actually, computation is allowing designer not to just be designer, but also to be maker, right? To make things. So that's very important. One other aspect that I think is relevant, Zaha Hadid used to say that architecture cannot be taught. We can only inspire people. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally
as an
agree.
educator.
I totally agree with as a whole comment. And also the best way is to inspire them is to work together, and to create something together with student with a small group, and that's the best way to inspire them.
Absolutely. I would like also to talk about your writings. You're a very prolific writer and very inspired writer. Some of your books, they had like great success. So can you tell me the relationship between your architecture and writing? How do you get to writing about architecture and why?
Yeah, when I did I design something, the kind of intuition push me to do something, and but after the completion of the building, and after people start to use the building, I begin to think what I did for that project, and and at that stage, I can write something, and then the thinking after the implementation is very important for next project, and it's a kind of a reflection and without that kind of thinking, as I cannot start the next project. And then the writing is very important for me.
Yeah, definitely. Because for example, in the anti-object, it was a very beautiful and provoking text. You analyze the work of Corbu and Mies van der Rohe as people that were interested in the production of objects, and you argue for basically the dissolution of the object into an anti-object. And you take the example of Bruno Taut. It's very inspiring. I was wondering, you also call for a particle-based urban theory. How does that? How can you actually talk about that?
Yeah, the particle-based urban theory is as a kind of criticism to Kenzo Tange's urban theory. The Kenzo Tange's urban theory came from Le Corbusier's idea, and as for them, the strong axis is important, and as a big scale volume is important for the city. But I don't feel sympathy to that kind of approach. Look, I did some research about Japanese town and the Japanese city, and no strong axis, no big volume, no big building, but every particles of the city is naturally creating the harmony. I want to bring that as an idea to the contemporary city, and then my particle theory studied.
That's very interesting, actually. Also, I know you've been traveling a lot, also in other countries and continents. I wonder whether also like you travel to the Sahara Desert and other places. I wonder how also like that influenced the way you see the city, to see different, you know, urban condition in different cultures as well.
Yeah, as I learned many things from those trip.
Yeah. One thing that I think is important to mention, actually, Professor Mario Carpo draw a very interesting parallel between your work and one of the latest development in computational design, right? This idea of like the reduce, you know, the breaking architecture into particles is very close to what we call now the discrete approach to architecture, which is essentially it's a different approach that is trying to actually escape the object and kind of like reducing architecture in its component parts. And that's actually has been actually come about because of the computational superpower we have right now and the possibility to actually manage a great amount of data. So these are how do you feel this parallel between your own approach and something that belongs to a culture that is obviously very is an emerging type of culture actually related to computation? How do you see this parallel?
Yes, and when I studied in Columbia University as 1985 to 1986, and so that period was a kind of beginning of computational design. And Bernard Chumi came to Columbia, and he studied paperless studio. But at that time, I couldn't feel sympathy to their approach. As a designs created by computer at that time, it's a kind of as a new streamlined designs. There's everything is curvatures. It is as a unique design, but I think it is as a final version of industrialization, and and then I wanted to find another way of using computer, but at that time I couldn't find a solution. But after coming back to Japan, after the encounter of craftsmanship, I slowly found the solution to combine the computational design and some realization. And a particle is a key word of that kind of combination. And then Mario Carpo's theory, but I read his book recently, and I finally understand what I did in 1990s is a kind of new, as a beginning of new computational design. It is a kind of as a coincidence, but I'm not intentionally at all, but I'm very lucky. I studied in Columbia at that time, and I learned the craftsmanship in Japan, and the two experiences as met at 1990s, and I found a new method.
Yeah, absolutely. Colombia in the 80s was an epicenter for experimentation in that field anyway. So it's fascinating how this thing throughout history actually reconnect in very weird way, in a way. Yeah. Finally, I would like to ask you maybe like something a bit more generic. I think in the anti-object, you also, when you talk about the object constructed by Le Corbusier or Mies van der Rohe, you also create like a very nice parallel between the media that were used at the time. Like you talk about photography. How does photography create a certain distance between the subject and the object? So the objectification of the architecture stays the same. And then you talk about how in the shot of the interior space of Le Corbusier's architecture, he tried to actually introduce an idea of time, and how the moving image also tried to do that, but without never managing to escape this the portrayal of the object. Now we are in the digital age. Obviously, we have new media, right? These new media, in a way, they atomized society. So the society, we all are, you know, in our own bubble in social media and other medias. So in a way, we are particles. But somehow these new media don't actually manage to bring us together, right? So I wonder, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the architecture of the 21st century dealing with these new media?
Yes, the architecture design 20th century is a little busy. Administration the laws are very much connected with as a period of as a visual media, photos, and as a movie, as a TV, and as those visual media was pushed as them to create the unique object, and but as now as our circumstances as the internet can provide as any type of visual image, and then eventually the position of visual image was dropped very much. And then the experience itself has a value, and experience is a real experience is most important for us. Everybody shares that idea, and in that kind of period, we should design experience. To design the symbolic form has no meaning in that kind of period of experience, and I wanted to design the texture. I wanted to design the atmospheres. I want to design some of the environment of smells. For example, the Japanese wooden building has a special smell. The smell of tatami mat, the smell of wood. I wanted to design that kind of the full experiences, and five senses is not only visual sense, visual image.
That's fantastic, actually. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. This is very unique and beautiful. And yeah, thank you again. We're done here with the interview. So congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
If you ever come to London, of course, you know, we'll be happy to meet you as well.
Yeah. The talk with you about that kind of film is very exciting.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Good
Bye.
evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.